welcome to SG Global News. From the devastating news of Israeli attack on Gazas Holy Catholic Church to the 25th anniversary of Bethl Music's global ministry, we have many stories to cover. Israel has reportedly struck Gazas Holy Catholic Church, the Holy Family Parish, injuring the parish priest and damaging the compound where hundreds of civilians have sought shelter. While the Latin Patriarch confirmed the attack and denied any fatalities, medical sources reported that 2 women were killed. The strike has drawn international condemnation, including from Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who called it unacceptable. The Holy Family Parish in Gaza, the region's only Catholic church and a shelter for hundreds of civilians, was struck in an Israeli air raid earlier today. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem confirmed the incident in a press release, stating that the parish sustained damage in the attack. The parish priest, Father Gabriel Romanelli, was reported injured along with several others. While the Patriarch initially reported no fatalities, medical personnel at Al Ahli Hospital in Gaza City said 2 women were killed in the strike. The Holy Family Parish also operates a school and works closely with several religious orders, including the Missionaries of Charity, the Servants of the Lord, and the Virgin of Matara, and the Rosary Sisters to serve the local population. Since the escalation of the conflict, many displaced civilians have taken refuge within the church compound. This is not the first time the site has been targeted. On July 7, 2024, a previous Israeli strike on the church reportedly claimed the lives of 4 people. The latest attack, which has left multiple people injured, has drawn international condemnation. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, in a post on X earlier today, wrote, quote, "Israeli raids on Gaza also hit the Holy Family Church. The attacks against the civilian population that Israel has been carrying out for months are unacceptable. No military action can justify such behavior," end quote. As armed clashes intensify in southern Syria, the villages of Al-Shura and Al-Kubra in Sweda province was a scene of violent act of vandalism yesterday, targeting the St. Michael Church. Images circulating on social media reveal the extent of destruction. Fires were set inside the church, scorching the ceiling, the altar and its sacred items desecrated, and the altar cloth ripped apart. Before the people of Syria could mourn the loss of their loved ones in the Mar Elias church attack in Damascus, another wave of violence struck the south, further victimizing communities through hate and destruction. In the wake of escalating armed clashes in southern Syria, the village of Al-Shura, Al-Kubra in Sweda province was a scene of a violent act of vandalism on July 15th when an extremist group attacked Melkite Greek Catholic Church of St. Michael. According to several local sources linked to aid to the church in need, the church was set on fire by unknown assailants, and the full extent of the damage has not yet been confirmed. Images circulating on social media reveal the church in ruins, the ceiling burned and shattered, the altar and its sacred contents desecrated, its cloth covering torn, and fires set within the sanctuary. The area has been the scene of deadly clashes which have forced several families to flee, some seeking refuge in churches for safety. Additionally, in the same wave of violence, fires reportedly destroyed 38 homes belonging to Christian families, leaving many of them displaced and without shelter. In another incident, security forces thwarted an attempt to bomb the Maronite Church of Mar Elias in the village of Al-Kiribat in the eastern rural Tartus. 3 individuals were arrested as they planned to detonate a car bomb loaded with 20 kilograms of explosives. According to the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights, investigators found inside the vehicle leaflets and slogans of a violent and sectarian nature, along with visual symbols suggesting extremist religious motives. Although the leaflets were signed by a group calling itself Ansar al-Sunnah Brigade, their language and tones raised doubts about their authenticity. The group itself denied responsibility on its Telegram channel, leaving the perpetrators unidentified. Less than a month after a deadly suicide bombing at Damascus church, Syrian security forces have foiled another potential attack, this time in Tartus. 3 men were arrested near a church in Al Khairabad village with 20 kilograms of explosives and extremist materials. The incident has heightened concerns among Syria's Christian community, which continues to face threats amid the country's ongoing conflict.
Less than a month after the suicide bombing at Marelius Church in Damascus that shocked global conscience, Syrian security forces have thwarted another attempted attack, this time on a church in the eastern countryside of Tartus. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, 3 men were arrested by general security forces on Monday morning near a church in the village of Al-Kharibat, Tartus. Local sources said the suspects had been waiting in a parked vehicle near the church. Security personnel recovered nearly 20 kilograms of explosives along with sectarian leaflets, slogans and visual materials pointing to extremist affiliations. Authorities suspect the men were planning a suicide attack targeting the church. The incident has reignited fears among Syria's Christian community, which has faced growing threats amid the country's protracted sectarian conflict following its takeover by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, led by Ahmed al-Shara.
In Nigeria, 3 teenage seminarians are still being held captive after a deadly armed attack on a minor seminary in Edo State. The attackers reportedly contacted the church and demanded a ransom for the boys' release. The incident drew widespread concern from religious leaders. At the same time, local authorities and church officials worked together to secure the safe return of the seminarians.
A violent attack on the Immaculate Conception Minor Seminary in Edo State, Nigeria, on July the 10th led to the capture of 3 teenage seminarians. Armed assailants stormed the premises, killing a security guard and taking the boys, aged between 14 and 17, into captivity. According to local church officials, the kidnappers have since reached out and demanded a ransom. The Catholic Diocese of Auchi is working with authorities to negotiate the safe return of the boys. The motive behind the raid appears to be financial, with sources describing it as a targeted detainment. Religious leaders across the country have condemned the incident, calling for greater protection of religious institutions and minors. A diocesan official reportedly stated that the Christian community remains hopeful, stressing that the boys are alive and every effort is underway to bring them home. The abduction marks the latest in a string of kidnappings targeting Christian communities in Nigeria. Clerical authorities have appealed for calm and urged the faithful to pray for the safe release of the seminarians. The investigation is ongoing, with security forces on high alert across the region.
The Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference has called on the Australian Law Reform Commission to prohibit all types of surrogacy, including altruistic arrangements, in a detailed 9-page letter outlining the profound harms associated with the practice.
Australian Catholic bishops have urged the government to ban all forms of surrogacy in a submission made to contribute to the review of surrogacy laws. In a July 9th letter to the Australian Law Reform Commission, the bishops emphasized that surrogacy undermined the dignity of women and children by commodifying human life and turning pregnancy into a transaction. Every child has the right to be conceived, carried, and raised within the stable, loving bond of its biological mother and father, wrote the bishops. They noted that surrogacy placed women and children at heightened medical risk, caused enduring emotional trauma, and opened the door to exploitation. They also called for a stronger enforcement of Australia's ban on commercial surrogacy. The bishops expressed deep concern that the terms of the review conducted by the Commission appear to prioritize easier access to surrogacy. They insisted any legal reform must begin with a clear commitment to protect children from commodification, women from exploitation, and society from the normalization of contract-based human reproduction. In Australia, only altruistic surrogacy, in which the mother makes no profit is considered lawful. Commercial surrogacy, often involving overseas arrangements that circumvent domestic laws, is illegal.
Pope Leo XIV has sent food supplies to families in Ukraine's Kharkiv region through the dicastery for the service of charity. Donations from the Pope were delivered to the residents of the bomb-struck town of Starby Saltiv and the city of Shevchenko.
Pope Leo has sent food parcels to families recently devastated by heavy missiles and drone attacks in Kharkiv, Ukraine. The donations were carried out through the dicastery for the service of charity. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, the papal almoner, told Vatican News that the Holy Father requested the aid be delivered as quickly as possible. Truckloads of canned food and basic items packed in white boxes were sent from the Basilica of St. Sophia in Rome to the bomb-stricken Ukrainian town of Staryi Saltiv and the city of Shevchenko in Kharkiv. The food was provided by the Sacred Military Constantinian Order of St. George in Rome and delivered directly to the families without the mediation of the other aid agencies. Earlier in June, the Vatican sent cargo shipments of mattresses, food, and children's toys to Ukrainian children and families. Pope Leo XIV had received Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in a private audience on July the 8th and discussed the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. During the meeting, the Holy Father expressed his sorrow for the victims of the war and assured the Ukrainian people of his prayers and continued closeness.
3 retired priests from South Korea's Incheon Diocese are returning to ministry in a new way by launching an open spirituality course for people of all denominations. Drawing on decades of experience as theology professors, they aim to guide lay people into deeper spiritual understanding through a lecture series titled Faith and Salvation. Here is a look at these elderly priests' new mission.
3 retired priests from South Korea's Incheon Diocese are offering an open spirituality course for lay people of all denominations, sharing the insights and wisdom they have gained through years of ministry and academic life. Father Sukjae Lee, Kyo Sun-shin, and Hyun-tae Kim, former professors of church history, biblical studies, and philosophy respectively, taught for decades at Incheon Catholic University's theology department. The lecture series titled Faith and Salvation, Spiritual Reflections from 3 Priests will begin in September and conclude in December. Weekly sessions will be held every Thursday in the large lecture hall of the Diocesan Social Pastoral Center. The 3 priests entered seminary together and studied theology side by side. Their professional journeys were closely linked as they taught together at one of the city's most respected Catholic institutions. Now in retirement, they are realizing a shared dream to pass on their theological and life experience to a wider audience while living as neighbors in the diocesan retirement residence. Speaking about this new endeavor, 73-year-old Father Sukjae Lee remarked, quote, "In the past, ministry was confined to specific parish communities, but now, without such limitations, we can invite everyone as part of our flock," end quote. Father Kyo Sun-shin, who has prepared a range of accessible and thought-provoking topics, said he hopes to unpack the meaning behind commonly memorized prayers by connecting them to Scripture. His aim is to help participants experience deeper and more meaningful prayer.
Young people from South Korea and around the world took part in a 4-day pilgrimage along the demilitarized zone to promote peace and reconciliation on the Korean peninsula. The Youth Peace Pilgrimage took place from July 10th to 13th and was organized by the Korean Reconciliation Committee of the Archdiocese of Seoul. Along the demilitarized zone, young adults from South Korea and abroad embarked on a 4-day pilgrimage to call for peace and reconciliation on the Korean peninsula. The 2025 Wind of Peace (DMZ) World Youth Peace Pilgrimage, held from July 10th to 13th, was organized by the Korean Reconciliation Committee of the Archdiocese of Seoul. Around 40 participants gathered together to help organize this year's event. The pilgrims shared that there can be no world peace without peace on the Korean peninsula. The committee, led by Archbishop Peter Chung-Sun-Taek, shared that pilgrimage is part of its Jubilee year activities. He added that young people must be more active and engaged in the church. On the first day, pilgrims visited Odusan Unification Tower and looked across Imjingang River into North Korea. They then walked through the DMC, passing Fatima Peace Catholic Church and reaching Junction Observatory, where they recited Prayer for Peace by Saint Francis of Assisi. In Cherowon, the group stopped at the Ice Cream Plateau, a former Korean War battlefield, before visiting the Open the Moon Cafe. The cafe is operated by North Korean youth and Gerald Tae-hoon Kim, affectionately known as Bachelor Mother, who has been taking care of them for 2 decades. The participants also visited a crematorium for UN troops and a cemetery for North Korean soldiers. On the third day, the pilgrims walked 10 kilometers in silence from Nangjong Reservoir to Manghangdae Observatory on Ganghwa Island, praying the rosary along the route. At the final day of the pilgrimage, during the Mass, participants prayed for peace on the peninsula and around the world. The Wind of Peace pilgrimage has been held annually since 2012 as part of the Archdiocese's effort to form apostles of peace ahead of the 2027 World Youth Day in Seoul. More than 1,200 worshippers are attending a special celebration in Redding, California, marking 25 years of Bethl Music's global ministry. The event, part of the 2025 Worship School, features live worship, training and commissioning for leaders from around the world. Organizers say this milestone reflects both the movement's legacy and its ongoing mission.
More than 1,200 worshippers are rallying at Bethl Church's College View campus in Redding, California for the 25th anniversary of its renowned music ministry. The event, running from July 14 to 18, coincides with the annual Bethl Music Worship School 2025. Organized by Brian and Jen Johnson, co-founders of the music ministry, the gathering serves as a commissioning moment for praise leaders worldwide. Attendees are receiving hands-on training, mentorship, and spiritual encouragement from senior church leaders including Bill Johnson and Chris Valentin. As part of the celebration, high-profile Christian artists such as C.C. Winans, Chris Tomlin, Darlene Shetch, and Don Potter are honoring the Johnsons for 25 years of spiritual leadership. Their participation is inspiring attendees while underscoring the musical legacy of the organization. According to representatives, the Milestone Week celebrates the global impact of the worship initiative. It also focuses on equipping the next generation through music sessions, Bible teachings, and small group mentoring. According to a Bethl spokesperson, the event reaffirms their dedication to nurturing worship leaders for a global impact. Founded in 2001, the Reading-based church ministry has grown into a global worship movement known for its albums, live events, and media outreach. The worship school remains an annual highlight, continuing to cultivate creativity and purpose among global worshippers.
That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.